Is it recording? Let me see if it's doing something. Wait.
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, good. I gotta get my head tilted the right way. I'm Bill Patton with USA Tennis Coach, and on the show today I have Mike Baugh of the Florida High School Tennis Coaches Association, and maybe I've got the wording off a little bit, but we're going to talk about his upcoming workshop and kind of what's the state of high school tennis in Florida and how well are the farmers and the cowhands, are they friends? So we're gonna talk a little bit about the musical Oklahoma today. All right, Mike, what's your position and what's the name of your organization?
Yeah, so I am the tennis chair for the Florida Athletic Coaches Association. So I organize the annual coaches conference that we're having actually this weekend in Daytona, and organize the annual high school event that we try to do, but it's getting harder and harder since they moved our tennis season ending in May. So it's really hard to get an all-star event when seniors only, and there's other things they can do and other tournaments they can play in. So yeah. Anyway, just one of the many challenges that we have to overcome.
In the past, you've been blessed to be able to have these all-star challenges. It's a unique thing. I mean, we don't do anything like that in California here. So
we haven't done it in 3 years.
Okay.
So we haven't done it in Florida since they moved our season back 2 weeks. And then now our state finals is getting over the first week in May, which then makes it really hard to do anything because you have graduations and grad bashes and everything, because schools in Florida normally get out right before Memorial Day. So there's a big crunch. Yeah, so there's a big crunch in May to get everything done, and trying to get a weekend where you try to get the state's best senior players in. It's a big crunch, and we haven't been able to do that successfully for the last 3 years.
Okay, let's get into the workshop this weekend. So what are the particulars? It's the schedule of it is what, and then who are some of the speakers you have coming?
Yeah, so it's a big weekend. We have 17 hours of presentations going on. You graced us with your presence last year. So it's kind of the same thing like we did last year, where we're having some indoor sessions and then we're going out on court at a local high school. I want to say our four biggest presenters are going to be Mike Barrell, who travels all around the world. He just got back from India. Michelle Krause, who is known for cardio tennis, but she's now taken another turn in her life and another chapter. And then master professional Stan Oley. So Stan's the man, and he's been teaching for a long time, master professional with the USPTA. And then our other big headliner is a girl named Mackenzie Solden, who actually is a Paralympic gold medalist, and she's now a professional wheelchair player. Mm-hmm. So those are just some of the names of the presenters that we have, and they're going to be talking everything from developing competitive skills to how to incorporate fitness into coaching.
Yeah, let's dig into that wheelchair thing for a moment, because I was impressed last time I came that wheelchair was being featured, and then was that the first time that had happened?
It's the first time at the FACA conference that wheelchair tennis has been featured. It's really important to know that you can play wheelchair tennis and able-bodied tennis on the same court during a varsity lineup. That's something that I don't think is known, and an opportunity for players that may not have the opportunity playing other sports.
Okay, so is that something that's starting to happen?
It's been happening here and there. There's not a ton of players, but it does happen occasionally.
I mean, just making a difference for one or two kids is huge, but hopefully hopefully people get some inspiration from that and start seeking those kids out. That'll be pretty fantastic. So, what are some of the key topics that are going to be covered?
We have a great topic. There's a guy named Kyle Lacroix coming up from Boca, and he's going to be speaking on why success and high performance lies in the dichotomy of failure. Going on talking about failure and how you can embrace it instead of being afraid of it, and how a coach can transition that to his players. That's one that's going to be good. On the second day, we're talking about out of season team play, on opportunities for the players in Florida. We're mid-January through late April sport for most schools. So unless you're in the top there, they're going to be playing that last week or the first week in May, last week in season there. So we've also got adaptive tennis. Lisa Pugliese, who won the USPTA National Star Award a couple years ago, is going to be talking about how to work with players that may be on the spectrum and what you may need to do with them because they need to be maybe coached differently than other players, and the attention needs to be had there. So,
okay, you're kind of cutting off your head a little bit. So if you can,
bad.
Bring your camera down. Oh, now we can see all of Mike.
No, I'm sorry.
That's
about
important.
that.
No, we gotta see you, man. So, no, and that's another kind of an amazing thing too, because I've had some kids that were diagnosed or not diagnosed, that had some interesting issues, and it's an interesting thing to try to figure out what works with this kid and what doesn't. And I think the number one resource there is to talk with the parents.
Yeah.
And then some kids are just wired differently. I mean, they don't have a diagnosis. They're just creative. They're just different in their approach. So how do you deal with kids who are sort of outliers? So, like, I'll give you an example. We were having a discussion about how my favorite fondue restaurant is closing, and so I said, "Hey, what am I going to do when my favorite fondue place closes?" And this one girl says, "Go to the supermarket." And I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'll buy the cheese myself and I'll just make my own fondue. That's it, right? Actually, no, I want to find another really good fondue restaurant. That's what I want to do. So anyway, it was really funny because that's just one example of how her brain works differently than other people's brains, right? So anyway, what are some other key topics that are going to be covered that are going to be pertinent to high school coaching?
So we have a really interesting presentation. I think it's interesting because I'm really analytical. I like data, I like statistics, I like facts. So Andy Durham, who used to work with CompuServe, like back in the day doing statistics, like remember the US Open used to have the statistics before IBM took it over. They used to have CompuServe. He's doing train faster, play smarter with statistics.
CompuTennis?
What?
Is it CompuTennis or CompuServe?
Well, wasn't it CompuServe? Like back at when you watch like an old replay of a match back in the maybe early 90s, 80s.
I think it might have been CompuTennis. Eric Jacobson.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
Andy worked with that company for a while back in the day, and they're developing an app to help chart matches to where you don't have to necessarily watch the entire match. So if a parent is watching a match and their other sibling gets them and says, "Hey, I need to go buy a drink or something," and bothers them and they miss a point, it's not the end of the world. Where in a lot of the charting matches now, you have to go in and be there present for every point.
Well, that's really powerful. I'll give you an example. I ran CompuTennis for as an assistant coach for a D2 team, and we were able to break out first serve percentage in the ad court and the deuce court. So a guy was serving 70% in the deuce court, but only 50% in the ad court. So his overall percentage looked good, but he couldn't win a game.
Yeah.
Because he's only serving 50% first serves in the ad court. So once we figured that out, he boosted his first serve percentage in the ad court, and then he was able to hold serve, 50% better. So, these kinds of things kind of get broken down that the naked eye doesn't necessarily pick up.
Well, there's also the perception, and then there's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're able to chart, it gets rid of that perception, and the perception now becomes the reality. It's just like whenever you're dealing with an adult doubles team, and they play really close to the doubles alley because they say they're getting beat all the time up the alley.
Right.
It's only been 2 points. It's 4% of the points they played the entire match, but that 4% for them was huge because they felt like they let their partner down in that pressure. Where realistically, it was just a small percentage of the match that they were trying to guard against.
I got one more for you like that too. So this is like league championship finals. My girl's down a set and a break, but we've been accumulating the data. And the girl with the ferocious forehand has 11 very scary forehand winners, but she's got 34 errors. So
Yep.
Totally counterintuitively, we played her forehand. And everybody thought we were nuts. But I just told Tracy, I'm like, look, she's going to hit a winner. It's going to go past you fast. You won't have a chance. But then you just count the errors after that because you're going to get 2, 3, 4 errors in between those winners.
Yeah.
So she ended up coming back and winning in a thrilling third set match. And no one wanted to talk about the fact that we were playing her forehand.
Yeah. That's the thing is when you can win 3 out of 4 points, that's 15-4 or 40-15 right there. Your advantage.
Yeah.
All you got to do is sneak one other one in. You got the game.
Exactly. All right. So what's another? So that sounds like a really awesome talk because that's going to help coaches be more successful on court immediately. What's another really applicable thing that's coming up?
So we also have high-level tactics for high school recreation players. Robert Taylor, who presented last year, did a great job presenting last year, is going to be talking about the tactical things that you can do with your players. Because when you coach, it's more than just you have to get your racket here, you have to get your feet set, you have to do this. You also have to know where and when to hit the ball. So that he's going to go over the tactics there, which I think is really good.
I thought his talk
Ashby,
last year. I thought his talk last year was outstanding. In fact, I was very impressed with the overall speaker lineup. There was not one dud. Everybody was good. I really enjoyed that because I hate when I go to a conference and there are people that you feel like you need to do anything but listen to them talk.
Yeah.
But there was nobody like that. So you did a great job with that last year.
Thanks. And hopefully this lineup, rivals last year's lineup. I mean, it was really hard to top last year having you and Sterling and Julio Goodrow and Bill Riddle. I mean, I had some heavy
Margot
hitters.
Carter.
Margot Carter, of course. So I had some great presenters, but this year, we're just changing it up. I didn't want to have a lot of the same presentations that we had last year because I want to be shown that we're going to change things. We're going to do something different. So if you miss it this year, you're not getting it back. You need to come. And then next year it's going to be different. So you keep on coming back. So the names and the faces may change a little bit from year to year. There may be some that are going to be mainstays. We're going to have one of the mainstays is Thad Hawks talking about out-of-season play and what you can do with your team out of season. And Desiree McLaughlin is going to be talking about club tennis, or what the USTA likes to call tennis on campus. which is really popular with about a dozen and a half schools here in Florida. As colleges, and then we're also going to be talking about the PTM programs for those players that maybe want to take the next step in their career and teach eventually, or maybe get in that realm. So those are some of the mainstays. The PTM program, the out of season play, and the tennis on campus, and then also Corey Sobers, who's over tennis for the FHSAA, is going to be coming in, and he's going to be doing a recap of rule changes and what's new and where we're going with tennis in Florida. He's a full-time employee with the FHSAA, so he oversees tennis and is among some other sports too. But those are pretty much the four mainstays we're going to have every year.
Okay. And so so you'd like some tennis pros who are club pros to come and partake of this and get connected more with high school tennis. I mean, I understand that in Florida, particularly, sometimes there are independent or club pros that discourage their top players from playing high school tennis. So
Yeah, absolutely. So it makes
what's gonna bridge that gap? Why do those people not value the experience that's might I mean, to me, I feel like those people are ripping those kids off
yeah.
because high school tennis can be a really amazing and a fulfilling experience, especially when compared to tournament play.
Well, if you're a private coach and $5,000 of your income every month comes from high school age players, and they leave and they don't take a lesson with you for 2.5 months, that's a good chunk of it's $15,000 that you're not going to be able to get. Whereas if they came to you throughout, then you'd be making that money. So there's that realm there. But on the other side, high school tennis only lasts 2.5 months. So there's 9.5 months throughout the year that if these private coaches can connect with these school coaches that may not be well versed in some areas, but they can get the kids started and get them playing, and then go to the private coach year round, then the team's going to get better. The players are going to get better, hypothetically. And then the private coaches are going to benefit now from the high schools instead of ruining the relationship over one or two kids.
Awesome. All right, we got a hard stop. So give me the wrap up. Give me the how do people contact you if they want more information.
Best way to contact me, social media, Baugh Elite. That's my last name, and then Elite, Baugh. You can hit me up. The Eventbrite link is FHSTA tennis at eventbrite.com. My contact information's on that site as well. And we're starting it tomorrow morning at 8:30. So anyone wants to come and jump in. Oh, if you're also a USPTA pro, you get 6 USPTA education credits just for registering, plus additional credits for attending workshops. So I know that's a plus for some pros that may need their education requirements here coming up at the end of the year.
Awesome. And there will be links in the show notes. Mike's going to send me some links here shortly, and I'll plug those into the show notes. So don't be afraid to show up at the last minute, and then also if you're seeing this and it's past, then you can look forward to next year and all that good stuff. All right. Thank you, Mike, and have a great day.
Great. Thanks, Bill.